There are many data types in Python, some of which we already talked about. Strings, tuples, dictionaries, lists, and some of those types include numerical data types or numeric data types. Much like going to the store like Red Wing shoes and selecting the proper shoe size, or drinking a glass of water or pouring a certain amount in a glass and determining what size glass is appropriate, you have to select the data type based on its ultimate size, simply because some of the storage requirements for apps like government managed healthcare, the records could be literally in the millions and billions. So choose your data types wisely. Say we have a list here, and we could see that if we say list as comparison is equal to 5,4, of course that is going to be false. However, if we said list 1 equals the set list 1, and then we said list 1 equals the set of 5,4, that would be true, because set does not know order. And we can prove that it's a set because we can say type list 1 is in fact a set. Now we could say list 1 is back to being a list, and we can say type list 1 goes back to being a list. Now we can say Q is equal to the quote to be or not to be, and then we can say type Q is actually the class of string. Then we can say list Q. Now when we take a string and we make a list out of it, each character becomes its own sequence or element in the list. So we tell the engine essentially to presume that each singular letter in the string, or each character, even if it's an empty character, is an element of the list. Because strings are immutable, if we still said type Q, it's still going to say string. Now the only way we can get away with this is we could say Q, instead of Q equals to be or not to be, Q is equal to list Q, and then we can again do type Q, and it's now going to say type list. And let me do print Q, and it's going to in fact print that list. Now let's talk numbers. Essentially, if we said X equals the number 8, that's of course a whole number, or better known as integer. So if we said type X, we have class int. If we said X is equal to 8.4, we have type X, and it is a type float. So you have to understand in your application that you're programming, are you going to need decimal values, or are integers sufficient? Also, if we said, for example, X equals 1J, and we did type X, that's going to be what is known as a complex number. That should only be reserved for higher end scientific application. All right, one more thing. We have this quote of the day, the quick brown fox, and we can turn that into a list. So list 1 equals quote of the day using the built-in split function in Python. So quote of the day is a string, obviously, and one of the methods of a string is the split method right here. So we can say type list 1 equals list, and list 1 is going to be broken up by the fact that there's no parameters in the split method. So it's going to naturally presume it splits at the space. So thus, every single word becomes another element of this list, and it's shown to be a list because we did type list 1, and it's shown as a internal or built-in class called list or type list. Now, the other aspect of the split method is the fact that you can specify in the parameters right here where you want it to split. So in this particular case, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. We want it to split in the F position. So this is the result, the quick brown fox. And so that is an entire element, and the F is dropped because it's being used as almost like a separation. And the second element is ox jumps over the lazy dog, because the F, which is seen as kind of like a boundary, the F is dropped. So that is utilizing the split string method.